It feels like a movie fighting itself. There's two visions fighting themselves within this movie, and you brought up a little bit with the idea of the island versus the second half of the movie at Lockwood Mansion. I mean, they're two diversely different parts of the movie, and I wish that they would have focused on one or the other rather than trying to force so much into one movie. Welcome to Dino Park Media. My name is Samuel, and today I have the opportunity to have on the administrator of the JPSACU Instagram page, Andrés. Andrés, why don't you go ahead and say hello?
Hi, hello everybody. Yeah, I'm here with the great Samuel. He was kind enough to invite me to speak on his video, so I'm here. Hello everybody.
Yes. Dude, yeah, I'm super happy to have you on. I've been following JPSACU for almost a year now. I started the account during lockdown in 2020, and I've been following JPSACU, and it's been fun. But just recently, I saw that you did an interview on your account with somebody, a live interview, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. It was all in Spanish, so I didn't understand a word because I'm not that smart. But I thought, oh, that was really cool, and he's a person that definitely knows what he's talking about, so I thought it would be awesome to have you on the channel. So thank you so much for joining me today, and today what we're doing is we're talking over Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. That's the video we want to go over today, and specifically, we want to go over why was Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom bad, but fun? Why was it a movie that, like, a lot of people have panned, but, you know, a lot of people still are like, I still watch it though. It's still fun. It's still, you know, it still has dinosaurs. So first of all, let's just go into the first question here, Andrés. What are your personal thoughts on Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom in general? Do you like it? Do you not? Like, how do you feel about Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom?
It's a funny thing. When I saw that movie, I was like, expecting so much. But at the same time, I wasn't, because it's very hard in this time of day, avoid spoilers, and even the official accounts, they start to give you too much. And but I was like, I always try to crack the plots of this of each movie, of each Jurassic movie before it comes out. So I never really crack it up, really. So I liked it. I was like, it's a good Jurassic film. It's not the greatest. It's like, I feel like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is like this generation, The Lost World, something like that, because it's very divisive around so many fans, but it has some qualities that I think over time, I don't know if on Dominion will be, sanctified or something, but I think it has some issues for sure. It has some plot stories that I was like, okay, I don't have to roll with that. I'm just because I'm a fan. but like, for example, the first part, the island. If the whole movie was about the island, I think it will be a perfect movie. And at the end, blow it up. Mm-hmm. And the second one, it was okay, but it did feel kind of convoluted sometimes. Like okay, it's a sci-fi movie, I get it. It's an adventure movie, and you'd have to put some sci-fi elements on it. Right. But it felt really like it's okay, I never expect too much about the dino battles or anything since Jurassic Park 3, this debacle of the Spino and the T-Rex. For me, it's okay. It's a okay film, a fun film, actually. But I don't consider it a bad film. I just don't. I try to put myself on the side of the people that says it's a bad film, but almost all the arguments are about, the battles are bad, the whole plot doesn't make sense. Like, it does make sense. I mean, there's this part with Ian says, we need to destroy them. And then Claire says, no, we need to rescue them. It's like, they want to save these animals, even though they're carnivores and, but they are animals. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear that, and I definitely respect that that perspective that you have on the movie itself, of course. And honestly, I agree with you because there's a lot of it that I did not like. And so for me, I honestly do find myself calling it a bad film, but that's not because of like the different Jurassic aspects, but because of the movie aspect. I felt like it just had not enough cohesiveness when it comes to the two halves of the movie. And it's kind of a similar gripe that I have actually with Star Wars Solo, a Star Wars story, because you can definitely feel that there are two visions within this film, because they fired the original two directors and then brought on and then brought on another one, and then it's like, oh well, you're eventually going to have a different vision going on if you're bringing on a second director. So like I think actually the best example of that, which is also because of how terrible the movie is specifically Justice League. Originally Zack Snyder set up everything for the Justice League, but then what ends up happening is that WB fired him, and then they brought on Joss Whedon, who has a completely different directorial style, and then you have and then what ends up happening is a movie that's pretty bad, because it's not that either one of these directors are terrible. A lot of people like to now call Joss Whedon a terrible director, but I think that that's very, very very wrong, because you look at the first Avengers, it's a great movie, but the idea is you brought in another director with a completely different vision for the bones and original structure of a movie that was already in progress. And so that didn't happen with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, but Fallen Kingdom, the reason that I feel like it's also very shocking is because Jurassic World was directed by Colin Trevorrow. And Colin Trevorrow is a fantastic guy. The first Jurassic World, I don't feel like is the best movie of all time, but I definitely feel like it did a lot in order to be able to serve the Jurassic Park original trilogy story. But then bringing on Fallen Kingdom, Colin Trevorrow was part of the writing team and he produced it, but he allowed J.A. Boyana to be the director. And the thing is, Boyana did a great job with directing. I think that he really did the best that he could with the script that was given to him. But I don't think that Colin Trevorrow I don't know if he intended everything that played out in the movie to play out the way that he originally thought or intended when he was in the writing room. And so I just feel like the reason that I feel that Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is a bad movie is as in like a general movie, speaking very objectively just from all movies, not from the Jurassic Park fan, is because of the fact that it feels like a movie fighting itself. There's two visions fighting themselves within this movie, and you brought up a little bit with the idea of the island versus the second half of the movie at Lockwood Mansion. I mean, they're two diversely different parts of the movie, and I wish that they would have focused on one or the other rather than trying to force so much into one movie. But ultimately, though, it is a fun movie because of the fact that they were able to throw in such incredible sequences. I don't care what anybody says about like Owen Grady should have died in the pyroclastic flow. In the lava cloud. Like, I don't care. It was super cool to see the dinosaurs running, to see Chris Pratt being, like this macho man, like jump off of the side of the cliff and, like be a superhero. Like he's basically Star-Lord in Jurassic World, like whatever. I don't care. It looked cool. It was a really cool sequence. And then seeing the Carnotaurus battle the Sinoceratops, seeing the T-Rex have that amazing intro sequence. If nothing else, if Fallen Kingdom for some reason in people's minds falls short in every other category, nobody can take away the fact that Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom had one of the greatest intro sequences in the entire series.
Oh, hands down about that. It's so good. I mean, if that was the tone, I was like, oh man, we're on for a ride, man. Totally.
Exactly. I mean, it's amazing. The T-Rex, the original Rexy roaring into frame, and then chasing down that tech guy, that mercenary, and then he jumps onto the ladder. He ends up getting away, but then the Mosasaurus, boom, comes out of the water, breaches. Dude, it's so good, and it's a fun movie. And so that's the reason that I definitely look back at Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Even when I first saw it, even after I first saw it, I knew, like, I saw it the first time, I'm like, yeah, a lot of that was kind of dumb, but I don't care, because that was so much fun to watch. And I saw it again in theaters, and I'm like, yeah, no, there were some things that were huge problems here, but I don't care, you know, like, it's like, it's a Jurassic film. And I think that also sets Jurassic apart from the Star Wars universe, or from the Star Wars fandom, because Star Wars had great films that set this incredible standard, and then with the sequel trilogy, they're going to be measured against the amazing movies of the originals, you know, and so they're going to be measured against this incredibly high bar. But with Jurassic Park, JP1 is amazing. Definitely is a great movie, but then The Lost World, a lot of people panned it for a while. Now it's starting to kind of regain a lot of popularity, but I mean, for many years, it was definitely seen as very subpar. Jurassic Park 3 was a joke to many people. Jurassic World, the first one, was fun, but a lot of people still felt iffy on it. So like, there wasn't this extremely high bar for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom to hit, and so like it doesn't hit that bar, but people are still like, it's okay, it's still got dinosaurs, you know. And so I think that really helps Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom with its longevity. But let's go a little bit deeper into the story, though, because I want to talk about Isla Nublar for a second, because this is the island where everything started. JP1, then also with the quote-unquote reboot, it's a soft reboot trilogy with Jurassic World. You look at Isla Nublar now. Do you think Universal's decision to blow up Isla Nublar and, you know, take it out of the equation altogether, do you think that blowing it up was the right choice? Because it erases all the opportunities to revisit Isla Nublar in the near future. So notice I say near, like you could go back there way in the future. I don't think that they'll ever go back, but honestly, you're erasing your opportunity to go to Isla Nublar by the fact that Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom blew it up.
Right. So it's a wow. So I put a lot of thought on this second question, because it's an interesting question to answer. You see, it's not like a yes or no question, because one of the things that I like about this franchise is that each movie timeline happens on the year that it's released. It's like the first one is in 1993, the second one is in 1997, and so on. So it has chronological order on our time, on our years. So it's like when Camp Cretaceous came out, it was like, well, this is not, it's canon, but it's not according to our timeline and our on the timeline as Jurassic has been releasing stuff. So I was like, I don't know. I love Isla Nublar. So with this live action that is coming, maybe they will take some freedom on, you know, getting back to the island, or maybe it's a linear timeline as always. I don't know, but I don't think it was a bad idea, because it's like, you know, as an original fan, like. I have nostalgia when the Brachio died, and sorry, I spoilers alert.
Right.
And you know, we have so many references that I think the common folk can understand it. It's not like, you know, like many details that you have to look at. No, it's like, you know, this is the Brachio, this is the original car, this is whatever. Yeah, I think it was a good idea, but I think the execution of that idea was a little rushed, you know. If the whole, exactly, like if the whole movie was on the island and at the end, you know, it blows up, okay, I'll buy that. I will see that again many times, and I've seen this movie many times, but I mean, in the sense of, this is the way you should done it, to blow up the island. And so I think it was a good decision, but bad execution in that sense.
I would agree with you on that, Andrés. I would definitely agree with you on that, and especially in regard to the idea that it was rushed. I do believe that blowing up Nublar was good. I've definitely watched other videos on YouTube of people saying, like, this is good, we want to get off of the island, like, stop going to islands, we want to see dinosaurs on the mainland. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, I see where you guys are coming from, but at the same time, at the same time, there's something very Jurassic about the tropical looking, the tropical aesthetic, the tropical feel of the first three movies.
Right. Yeah.
I know that the Lost World technically had, the California redwood feels to it, but at the same time, it still feels tropical. It still feels like a very different world that you're operating in. And I really like Nublar, but blowing it up was not a bad decision. I definitely respect it, especially because of the fact that Isla Sorna still exists. So there's still the opportunity to go to another island in the future. And also if that sanctuary island was real in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which I don't believe it is, but that's besides the point.
Me too.
Yeah. But even if it was real, like there's still opportunities to go to islands in the future. But blowing up Nublar was definitely a good choice, but it was very rushed because they were trying to get to the second half of the movie. And I wish that, because like, if you're going to go to the island, make it worth our while. That's really, that's what it comes down to for me. And honestly, they had the blow up scene, like where the volcano's blowing up and then the pyroclastic flow and the whole really cool sequence with Claire and what's the guy's name that screams all the time?
Benjamin Frank. No, Benjamin Frank. It's Franklin.
Yeah, Franklin.
Franklin. Well, yeah.
Yeah. We'll call him Benjamin Franklin. No. But when Claire and Franklin like are in the gyrosphere and they go flying into the water, that's a great scene. It's all really cool, but it felt like it was like a race the entire time. We didn't have enough time to really stop, gather ourselves as an audience, and then reflect on like everything that was going on. The only moment that we really stopped to really reflect in order to get past all this action was after they got onto the boat. They're looking back and you see the Brachiosaurus dying, and then that's really like the one moment of reflection that we have about Isla Nublar blowing up with the Brachiosaurus dying. And it's a very emotional scene, but there's the idea that, okay, I wish that I would have had this a little bit more with like maybe seeing the lava overtake the original Jurassic Park visitor center, like seeing that enveloped by lava, like having this like little mourning period would have been really cool. But that all of that was because they wanted to race through it in order to get to the Lockwood Mansion, which brings us to the next question. Was the Lockwood Mansion a good addition to the movie in general? But then also, the reason that we go to the Lockwood Mansion in the first place is to meet the Indoraptor. So kind of they go together. Was the Lockwood Mansion and the Indoraptor good additions to the movie? Why or why not?
Okay. All right. This is interesting. So the manor and the Indoraptor, I was like, it's okay. I know where is this coming from. It's not with Colin. I think it was Jay Bayona all the way. I think it was like, I have this idea and I don't know, I want to develop. This is my supposition. I don't know if this actually took place or anything, but it was okay. I feel a great vibe of a monster calls in that scene, but no, if they just sell out the dinosaurs and that's it, I think that will be cool, and the break free and everything and havoc. So the Indoraptor, I was like, I like the design and everything, but it really isn't necessary. We will only have one hybrid, and okay, that's it. It's never about the hybrids,
right?
But,
and I'm with you on that one. The hybrids, I think the Indominus Rex did a great job in being able to provide the nudge in the right direction, because if you're for Jurassic World, because if you're gonna bring back the park and then you're gonna bring back chaos, like if you're gonna bring back the park fully operational, then obviously you brought all these dinosaurs under control, so you need to have that chaotic element, which I believe the Indominus Rex definitely provided, and it was a necessary evil. But the hybrid, the Indoraptor, it seemed like such a forced storyline, with having people make a new dinosaur in order to go eat people that is and being laser guided with a laser that's already on a gun that could shoot the person that you want to kill. Like, it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense to me. But I feel like the Indoraptor could have had a way better time if they would have taken the time to really flesh out the story, and then if Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was actually given the time to focus on Nublar, still have the Lockwood Mansion have its pieces. You know how like in the beginning of the movie when they're actually on the island, you keep on referring back to Mills, who is at the Lockwood Mansion on the phone with Wheatley and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that was good. I think the Lockwood Mansion itself is a good thing. I think that it was a good addition to the movie because it provides that that ground zero base for a new new genetics lab and stuff like that with Dr. Wu. But I do believe that the Lockwood Mansion was given too much time at the end of the movie. And I think that they should have developed more time on Isla Nublar and focused on that. And if they wanted to bring in the Indoraptor so bad, because the thing is, I'm just going to answer my question plainly. First of all, was the Indoraptor a good addition to the movie? But,
yes, it was.
because like it's iconic. I think yes, it is. I think it's iconic. I think it did a good job to provide a definitive monster for the movie because each movie has had their standout movie monster. Whether it be a dinosaur or hybrid. JP1 had the Velociraptors as the bad guys, even though the T-Rex was definitely the most iconic. I think the Velociraptors were shown as like the bad guys because they were the ones that broke out. They were the ones that were feared the most. The Lost World, the Buck and Doe T-Rexes were the big ones. Jurassic Park 3, Spinosaurus. Jurassic World, you have the Indominus Rex. But then coming back now to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, I don't think that you would have had that specific dinosaur as the enemy, that specific bad guy dinosaur, if the Indoraptor didn't exist. So I think the Indoraptor was a good addition. However, I don't believe that having it at the Lockwood Mansion was a good thing. I think that you should, if you really wanted to be scared of it, you should put it out in the jungle and allow it to hunt people. That is like I wish that what they would have done is they would have bred the Indoraptor at the Lockwood Mansion, and then what Mills and Wu were like, we need to send this out on a field test, and then they took these people to the island, to Isla Nublar before it blew up, and in order to try to erase the memory of Claire, Owen, trying to like we need to erase all of their memory from the island. So like have the Indoraptor go there and hunt them down with and the other mercenaries. Dude, that would have been sick, and you would have had this this very like Predator feel, like the Predator movie feel to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and you would have been able to double down on the horror aspect. Can you imagine how amazing that would have been? And then also you would have been able to give proper time to Isla Nublar rather than trying to race through it so that you can get to the Lockwood Mansion so that you can visit the Indoraptor for the first time. Like, yeah,
totally. Like, for example, like if that would have been done, if Lockwood Manor was introduced like that, if we didn't know about the whole thing until the end, the very end, like they were selling the dinosaurs and everything, we were like, oh, wait, where is that? It's a manor, okay, but so there's mystery. So there's so you build mystery upon a new place that they rescue the dinosaurs. The Iraptor is dead on Isla Nublar somewhere, and now is this location where this is the older partner of Hammond. Who is he? Are we gonna get a little more? And maybe we do, and then at the end the dinosaurs are free, and maybe we get some snippets of this guy and his relationship with Hammond. I don't know. And then you build more lore with more mystery in that sense. I don't know if it makes a little sense with that, but yeah.
Right. And I'm totally with you on that. I wish that they would have been able to build more suspense, because if we would have left the Lockwood Manor until the very end of the movie, and then because I think you're right. Lockwood Mansion, I think, was intended to be more mysterious than it ended up being, because, listen, it's a mansion built on top of a stinking laboratory. I mean, that's pretty crazy. And you could have built up so much mystery with that, but instead you just kind of like cash in all of your cards too soon, and then it takes away from a lot of the mystery of the movie. But thankfully, they did have a lot of fun aspects of the movie with the different action scenes. Even I will say that even though the Indoraptor's action scenes were definitely limited by the fact that it took place in the mansion, they were still fun. They were still fun.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, especially the callback with having Maisie trying to pull down the dumbwaiter. Like, that was so much fun. That was just a fun callback to the original JP. But moving on to our next question, though, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom was first received well. I mean, like when it first came out in London, and then moving on, like it actually had a very high rating. I was talking to Clayton Fioriti about this, off camera, last a little while ago, a little bit ago, and he was talking about that he has never seen anything like that with a Jurassic film. Just like where it starts out, where a lot of people are receiving it well, and then just gradually, as as it's out longer in theaters, it just continuously falls from grace. And it's like, what happened there? So Jurassic World was first received well, but then Fallen Kingdom was first received well, but then quickly fell in ratings as the movie continued its stint in theaters. Why do you think that the ratings eventually fell and landed at the low spot that we have today?
Well, one of the things that I think it's about this is, it's like Rotten Tomatoes, like you just see a review, and many of these guys are paid off to say things, right. and well, that's the way the industry works, and I totally respect that, and I understand it. But at the beginning, I was like, okay, why not critics, but that, like, the audience is saying this, because I don't follow to the critics' opinion. I just go to the film. Expecting nothing. I try to not read any review at all on any film, even it's a B movie.
Okay.
So I go, clean, and then I see the movie. I have my feelings, opinions, and then I get back now I see, the whole videos and reviews and all. So my first guess is that people were expecting. Like we were talking about the whole thing, we were expecting more Nublar, more development of this story, and then that people are getting hit by all this. What's about this half part of the movie? So I think it was the very first thing that occurred to me when I saw this question is about the Maisie thing. The Maisie pushing up the button and then releasing the dinosaurs. It's the very first thing that many folks were like, "Oh, come on, why are you releasing the dinosaurs?" Mm-hmm. And like, well, yeah, but no, I mean, I think it's more like the older people were expecting so much. But like, I think sometimes I talk to kids, and they speak about the film, and they're, "No, it's great," but they're not thinking about the story. So I think people are older, and I started to, it was a silly idea, or like I try to focus more on the fun of the film a little bit before I review the film as cold as I can be. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is, did I have fun? Yeah, I had fun. It's a fun film. Totally, it's a fun film. But it's a good story. I mean, no, it's not like the best story ever written. It's a consistent story in the overall story of Jurassic, and even some parts of its own story. But I mean, the Indoraptor smiling, this kind of bits, people didn't bought it, and they were like, I'm not sure anymore about Jurassic, because they were like, it's this realistic theme of dinosaurs and man, and then you put an animal smiling, and it's like, what is going on there? And I'm like, I totally see that part, mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, well, you're not seeing National Geographic here. It's a sci-fi movie.
I would definitely agree with you on that. Like, I think a lot of people, like you said, just didn't buy into the idea, just didn't buy into the plot. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, the plot itself wasn't bad until they tried wrapping it up. The thing is, like, what makes good plot, what makes good stories, is good promises and good payoffs. And I don't think that Fallen Kingdom made the best payoff. They made a really good promise at the end of the movie, right? Yeah. They made a really good promise with the fact of like, hey, we have dinosaurs out on the mainland now, so we're gonna have a good story. But that doesn't do anything for the movie at hand. You're setting up a great promise for the next movie, for Dominion. You're not setting up a great promise, or you're not resolving a great promise for the movie that you have at hand. The only promise that was that was given and fulfilled in a satisfying way in Fallen Kingdom is the fact that Chris Pratt and Blue have an understanding that there's actually a relationship there. That was probably the only promise and payoff that was given like a satisfying conclusion. But as far as like the other promise and payoff, the other promise was the island's going to blow up, and it did. There was a payoff, but like we talked about earlier, it just wasn't as satisfying as it could have been because you didn't dedicate enough time of your film to that part of the movie. And then another promise and payoff was the fact that there's something mysterious about Maisie, but then the payoff was just a quick little moment of, oh, by the way, she's a clone. And then it's like, it's not as poignant of a moment because it's only given as a throwaway line in a piece of dialogue right before another action scene. So basically, what I'm referring to, for anybody who's listening, is when Mills was just quickly trying to talk to Owen and Claire about giving Maisie over to him, and then they're like, no, we're not going to do it. And then he's just like, you don't know who she is, do you? Yeah, that's right. What's his face? Lockwood needed to make another. He lost his daughter, so he wanted to make another one. He had the technology, and then Indoraptor comes coming through. It all happens so quickly that there's not enough time to really develop that idea. So there's technically a promise, there's technically a payoff, but it's not satisfying. And I think that no matter what movie you make, if you have unsatisfying payoffs to your promises, people are going to be disappointed. As well as a mixture of, like you said, people looking at reviews and then going into a movie critically and then coming out going like, oh, that critic was right, this was a terrible movie. And I think there's a lot of that as well. Which happens with any movie that has a staggered release date. If it gets released in the US first, then it goes overseas, or if it gets released overseas, like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was first released in London and then made it to the United States, like you're going to have people looking at reviews, going into it critically, and coming out being unsatisfied. But that all comes down to our last question, though. Okay. Do you think Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom will always be seen as a bad movie in the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom? And I know that you already said on record that you don't believe that it's a bad movie, but I mean, a lot of people have that perception of it. So a lot of people see it as a bad movie. Do you think that it will always be seen as a bad movie, or do you think that it will be redeemed by Jurassic World Dominion? Like Jurassic World Dominion will come out and then reveal it in a brand new light.
This is interesting because when I saw the Jurassic World, the first one in theaters, I went with my brother and he found it ridiculous, the first one. And he was like, this movie is absurd. I mean, we saw this girl running on heels from a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Right. And I was like, I mean, I have to agree with him. I was like, well, yeah, I'm a fan, but yeah. And then he was like, and I didn't feel, the emotion that the first one, he was always comparing the new one with the original one. I was like, it's very hard then to separate it to some people. The original, and the original is the only one. And I'm like, well, you need to, life finds a way. You need to move on. You need to blow up the island, to burst your bubble, to open the toy box. You need to make room to new stories, to new ideas, and so I was like, so when he and I went to see Fallen Kingdom, it was like, this is a better film, and I was like, yeah, it is, but I think it's not going to be the bad film or a bad film. I think the time will, exonerate it, like the prequels from Star Wars. Like the prequels, I think they have been validated over the years, and I think people in general maybe thinking, you're not gonna convince me that this will be a good film in the future. I don't know. I mean, it's always the original and the rest of them. So I don't know. I think maybe, if not the fans, the people in general could, see it and like, it's okay. I will see that again, not only because of the dinosaurs. I think Owen is a cool guy, and Claire definitely has some story arc. That's one of the things that I like about Fallen Kingdom, actually. Claire's arc is more developed, I think, in this one in some regards than in the original, because in the original it's like I felt the Claires are more rushed than in Fallen Kingdom for me.
And
So
I
I
can see
think
that. Yeah, I can see that. But I also think that like Claire starts and ends in a very similar spot in Fallen Kingdom. So
yeah.
I definitely see where you're coming from. Whereas with Jurassic World, she has a very different spot where she ended compared to where she began. Whether or not it was rushed in the middle, like we could argue over. But like I think there's definitely a greater journey for Claire in Jurassic World compared to Fallen Kingdom. But going back to the idea is if Fallen Kingdom is always actually, will it always be seen as bad, or can it be redeemed? I honestly think that it can get to the point where it can be redeemed. I don't know if Dominion will do that. I think that you're right that it will definitely take a lot of time in order for it to be redeemed, because I mean, bringing it back to Star Wars, but specifically the sequel trilogy, if you look at it, I was holding out hopes that Episode 8 would be redeemed, or would not be seen as the awful movie. I was really hoping that like it put undue stress undue pressure on Rise of Skywalker, because Rise of Skywalker had to make everything in Episode 8 validated. But what they ended up doing is they ended up just kind of skirting around a lot of the subjects. Now, I do think that because Colin Trevorrow has kept control of this franchise, Jurassic World franchise, in the first movie to now, I do believe that he will provide a more cohesive story. So it gives me hope that Dominion could provide the redeeming factor to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. But ultimately, I ask you this question, and it's kind of futile, because it's all very subjective until the actual movie of Dominion comes out. You know, it's all just speculation. But honestly, I do believe that Fallen Kingdom will never be seen as the worst film. Some people do argue that, and they argue it hard. But I think that ultimately JP3 will probably always be seen as the weakest, unless, of course, Dominion does a whole thing on just all of a sudden going like, by the way, we want to make sure that every movie that came before this is all of a sudden seen as gold because of what we're doing in this movie. I mean, if for some reason Dominion became the end-all be-all for the Jurassic World franchise, like that would be amazing. But that's just too much pressure and too much undue pressure on that movie. But I think ultimately what we come around to is that Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is a flawed movie. It has flawed plots, it had flawed pacing, but it does become fun because of the fact that it was just loaded with a lot of cool action and ultimately more dinosaurs. I think that one of the reasons that they put more dinosaurs in there is because of the fact that they wanted to sell more toys, but then also because I think there was a subconscious understanding of, we know this movie isn't going to be as top tier as obviously Jurassic Park or even Jurassic World. So the story isn't as good as those ones, but it's a necessary story that needs to be told to get the dinosaurs onto the mainland. So let's go crazy with the dinosaurs. And so honestly, it worked. It's a fun movie that people don't, I think most people don't absolutely hate, but there are still some people out there that might even be listening to this right now going like, Samuel, you're wrong. That movie was trash, but whatever. I still enjoy it. But all that to say, thank you so very much for being on the channel today. That's all the time that we have today, Andrés. But thank you so much for joining me today. Are there any final words that you want to provide before we sign off here?
You can, I don't know. I have to thank you very much for the opportunity you gave me to have you on your show. I just found out about you and I saw your account and I was like, oh, this guy's okay. I mean, you have content that really enrich the Jurassic franchise a little more. So I'm very honored that you asked me to be here in this day. And you can follow me on Instagram, and it's at JPSACU. And so far that's it. I have a Twitter account, but it's linked to my Instagram account. So I never publish anything interesting on Instagram. So that's it. And in the future, I hope I see you again on another subject, whatever that is. And thank you very much, really, for having me.
Absolutely. And honestly, Andrés, those words that you provided are so kind. I really appreciate that. And it's been a joy having you on today. So make sure to check out at JPSACU on Instagram. Make sure to follow him, and because he puts out stuff every day and it's always good. And also, if you feel like we've deserved it, we hit that subscribe button as well as the notification button underneath this video and help us out with the channel. But guys, thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, have a great rest of your day and know you are loved.